Welcome guys to the very first episode of Let's Build Jurassic World. While we're on the theme of paddocks in the Jurassic Park series, I thought that was a great opportunity just to jump into Jurassic World and begin working on some of the incredible paddocks we see in that film. And as you can see, we are starting off with the Indominus Rex Paddock. Now this build is going to take a few episodes, so in this one what you saw there is we work on the control room and the main walls to the paddock itself. Then in the next sets of episode we'll actually go into that kind of fully fledged detail and make it, it's the small details that make it those incredible paddocks that we recognize. So in the next episode we'll move on to those. Now again, this took a lot of studying of the Jurassic World film, and obviously it's now on me to buy on DVD, yeah? So I went onto YouTube and used the YouTube trailers, because obviously the trailers focused a lot on the Indominus Rex Paddock, and from my own memory of seeing it back in day release at the Odeon, I've been able to build what I think is really, again, accurate representation of what we see in those films, because like the Jurassic Park builds, I want to make them as accurate as possible, because I think it just helps if, even though I sometimes add my own kind of, creative interpretation to a little detail here and there, overall, this has to be that icon we recognize to fit into, that kind of franchise of Jurassic Park. So as you can see, what we're working on here is we built those big concrete walls, and now what these stone walls in combination with these stone bricks kind of feature as are the big steel girders that hold these walls in place. Because the interesting thing about the Indominus Rex Paddock is it's a complete work in progress. The Indominus Rex is a brand new dinosaur, and you can tell from the design of the filmmakers that it's, they really weren't prepared for this huge dinosaur, in respect that the Jurassic World's Indominus Rex Paddock isn't finished. As we see it in the film, it's under modification. We have this big grey concrete wall you can see me building here, currently in this L shape. And in the films, what we see is it's uneven. It's completely being built while the dinosaur's inside there. So that's one of those things I really, wanted to convey in this. So we're building these huge steel girders that hold it in place. And there's actually 4 of these running down the wall. So as an example, we put the corner ones in up there. And as an example to what the wall ones look like, they're obviously in a very similar respect and design style. But they just kind of hold themselves differently against the wall, because they're not in a corner. They kind of integrate much more into the wall, really, and just kind of fold in nicely. Now, if you're worried, we will definitely be going back to Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is not yet over. We've still got much more of that to go. But just for, an interesting standpoint for me, to keep my own enthusiasm for the project, I felt it was time just to move on for a couple of episodes and start working on basically the restricted area of Jurassic World. That is going to be our focus for this Jurassic World series, is everything we see kind of above the Jurassic World wall, in that area, in that dark zone where the public can't get to. So that's obviously why we're building this Rex Paddock. Now what you can see me doing there is, you notice that I've just extended the wall so that it's uneven, and that's, arcing back to that what I was saying earlier about this being an unfinished paddock, and that, it's currently a work in progress. So now what we're working on is that control room, and because the wall is, it's strong and bulky and concrete, but it's still reasonably thin, so you couldn't integrate the control room directly into the wall. So it actually it comes out this way so far, and it hangs out on the inside so far as well. So it's kind of hard to describe that, but you'll see as we go along. So we're using kind of the same materials, obviously keeping that continuity again. A big important thing about Jurassic Park was making it look as if all these different builds do still belong to Jurassic Park. And that's obviously important with Jurassic World as well. Keeping that really basic, bland, industrial design was incredibly important for me. So that's kind of what I've tried to create within this episode. Now we've moved into the control room here, you can see me digging out that wall, and we'll really get a sense of this kind of nice wide control room. And now with this industrial and, like I say, quite bland style, we have to kind of adapt my build style again, because as I kind of began with those big, kind of glamorous, really kind of detailed castles. And the castle builds I did a very long time ago now. And what was great about the castles was they had so many windows in them. And windows in Minecraft are a really good way of just kind of giving a big, huge, bland wall a lot of detail and a lot of depth. But because we're working with this really simple, kind of concrete design here, windows weren't an option. There aren't any windows just to kind of look into the Indominus Rex Paddock. So, I kind of had to think, how do I create that sense of detail and depth within this build? And that was this way, by layering the rocks. Now all the bricks, how, the stone, there we go, the stone. So I did this by using variations of stone, even though the paddock from a distance in the film all kind of looks quite a similar colour. That within Minecraft, I thought, right, we need to represent that kind of similarity in colour. So obviously grey is the overall theme, but then with these stairs like sticking out and curving under, it creates those shadows, and those shadows are something I utilise quite a lot, in tandem with my Minecraft shaders, because the shadows give that idea of depth and detail to us as humans, really. So that was obviously something that was incredibly important in me doing within this build. Now what we're working on here is a little stairwell. Now stairwells are something I normally kind of skip through nice and quickly, because stairwells are, in some respects, they're kind of, they're not as interesting as big grand electric fences around the T-Rex paddock, are they? But with this build, I thought for once I will show you just my whole little process of building a stair. So this is quite a big stair as well, so it's a good example as well. So we build the stair down like that by layering it over, and then we go underneath and just clear it up nicely, and then reapply the stairs upside down, because this obviously gives that nice kind of even progression on a diagonal, 45-degree angle in Minecraft. Now, against each stair, I always put a nice big, cube block, because the cube blocks then allow us to place these railings on and kind of level the railings up and just give the stair, a kind of sense of functionality. Even though it's a bit bulkier than the designs we may have seen in the films, they still need to function. We still need these railings along the side. So to kind of get rid of that bulkiness, I then replace those cube blocks with upside down stone stairs to give that smoothness and, that whole idea again. And now to add that, idea, even though structural integrity isn't a thing in Minecraft, we could have this paddock flying 100 feet in the sky if we wanted. But just for my own visual perspective, it was adding in these final details, such as these stands that hold up the stairs, that kind of stuff really that were incredibly important to make sure I do and kind of don't just skip over. So we're adding in these big, these are obviously steel girders in the film, and that's this stone wall is what I'm using as their replacement in this build. So we've got those nice steel girders now holding up that stairwell, and we've got this kind of really bland, very minimal design on the outside. Now what's interesting is the inside, and the inside was obviously for me the most interesting bit of this build, because like I said earlier, the windows allow so much detail and added depth to a build in Minecraft that this outside kind of command center really just allows me to start working on windows, but in a completely different style to what I normally do, because obviously this is the spot where they come 24 hours a day they monitor this dinosaur. So big wide windows are something obviously they need to be able to look in and keep an eye on the Indominus Rex itself. But little do they know, obviously that wouldn't work. That's a special dinosaur in there, and even spotting it on cameras becomes something that's impossible, as we all know from the film. So what we're doing here is adding in those kind of windows. So I looked back to a great trailer scene in which we see Chris Pratt's character, kind of talking, and they're kind of discussing what's in this paddock, and we get a great shot of these windows. Now in the film, the windows actually have a different design, depending on which side you're at. So we kind of build over these steel girders over the top here to give it its original structural integrity. And then what we're going to move on to in a minute is putting on steel bars on this window. So you see me putting up here, put the vertical bars up, and now we put horizontal ones on. And even though this is how it looks in the film, it has 2 bars over these outside windows just to, add that extra level of protection. As we zoomed out there in Minecraft, this looked way too bulky, and bulkiness is something I'm really trying to avoid in this nice, minimal build. So I actually get rid of those bars and just kind of go without and just keep the vertical ones in. And now the inside windows, they don't have any protection. I mean, I don't know why. You'd think you need protection on all the windows, but from a design standpoint, they don't. So we neglect them on the middle ones, and then go in and add again that idea of structural integrity. This thing could hold itself against that wall without falling off, because obviously on the outside we had those big arcing steel beams that we kind of integrated the command post with. However, on the inside, those steel beams are built into the concrete walls. So the way this stays up here is by putting in underneath those kind of triangle girders. Now we're getting towards the end of this episode, in which we kind of start adding those extra little level of details. So as I said then, these steel girders kind of integrate with the wall on the inside. We still needed to give that extra bit of detail for Minecraft. So we start, I bring out those stone walls just to give it kind of that idea, that this is all one girder that goes over the top and back down the inside. And I think that works nicely. Then I did a small edit there to the wall size, and then bam, we have all the walls put in. And like I've been saying throughout this build, the walls are uneven, so that's really what I went for here, is having those uneven, under constructed concrete walls. Now we're missing obviously some huge details. The most obvious one is here. We're going to build a gigantic door here, which is obviously what the Indominus Rex breaks out of, while also we need to fill this area with foliage. And on the outside I need to do a tiny bit more terraforming, get rid of some of these. The tropical jungle doesn't come this close to the paddock itself, so I need to get rid of that and also do a little bit of an interior here. But from this perspective inside, I think we've got a really good look at the paddock, and this interior I think looks eerily like what it does in the film as well. So I'm obviously really happy about that. So guys, thank you very much for watching this episode, and I look forward to seeing you next time when we finish this paddock. Goodbye.